Welcome back, everybody, to Tailgate Talk, Week 4, which is the halfway point of the Class C season. I cannot believe that. We're already talking about the end of September and going down the stretch here as we get to playoff time. And there's some games this week that are going to have a heavy impact on that scene. Two in particular that are huge. One is going to be played in Lisbon on Saturday afternoon. The Battle of Unbeatens, and maybe a little bit of a surprise on one half of that equation. Freeport at Lisbon. Randy Whitehouse, Kalle Oaks. Randy, what do you think of the Freeport-Lisbon matchup? Is Freeport the surprise team this year so far?
You would have to say that they are, and you look at the schedule that they played so far, and they haven't really run into a lot of the iron. They beat Dirigo in Week 1 barely, and you give them credit for going on the road in Week 1 and getting a win like that. And they were impressive last week against Telstar, particularly in the second half. Just wore down the Rebels. This is kind of a classic contrast when you talk about Lisbon. We always talk about the little team, the smaller Lisbon Greyhounds going up against these big hulking behemoths, and Freeport has a few of those. They go like 315, 260, 250, 225, 200 along the front line, and you won't find two kids combined who weigh that, I think, for the Greyhounds. And talked to Dick Moynihan earlier this week, and he said that was a big concern for them, how they would match up front. Another big concern for them was offensively. Freeport has some speed in the backfield. They can hand it off to different guys in the backfield. They'll give you different looks in the backfield as well. They'll line up that 315-pound offensive lineman in a full house backfield occasionally. So it's definitely going to be a challenge for the Greyhounds. They can't look at the name Freeport and think, oh, we've rolled over these guys the last couple of years. This is going to be a cakewalk. They're going to be in for a ball game on Saturday.
The big Friday night game this week, I guess you could call it a win-win situation. You got Winthrop and Winslow. It's going to be played at Maxwell Field. How long did it take me to come up with that one? Winslow, new to the conference, 3-0. Opened some eyes last week, not only with Coach Mike Savitsky's 200th career win, but the fact that it was against Maranacook, a team that a lot of us had started anointing as maybe one of those top 2 or 3 teams in the league. Now Winthrop coming in 2-1, a young team. They played well against Dirigo. They could easily be 3-0. How will they fare against Winslow, a team that seems to be making waves in its first season?
Yeah, Winslow last week was kind of a classic grinded out Winslow kind of game. I mean, they just beat down the Black Bears, who I'd said, as Cal said, that they were one of the top teams in the conference. Defensively, they shut them down. Winthrop, there's a question obviously about Danny Moody's health. They relied on Zach Glazier a lot last week, and he handled the job capably. He's a kid that can make big plays. Winthrop likes to make big plays with their passing game as well with Jared Hansen. So it's going to be a case of whether Winslow can keep Winthrop's offense off the field and whether they can limit those big plays when it is on the field, and whether Winthrop can get out of those third and short situations on defense. I think this will be a big point for the Ramblers this year. They're a young team still, just 6 seniors. If they can walk out with a win against Winslow, that'll be a huge confidence boost for them.
Also Friday night, Dirigo at Poland. Poland, a team that's rebounded nicely from its opening night loss to Freeport with a couple of wins. First over the Winthrop in that hard-fought game, and then over Old Orchard Beach, kind of a cakewalk at home. Is this going to be a hard-fought game or a cakewalk at Poland, or somewhere in the middle?
Probably a cakewalk. People in Poland may not like me saying that, but they're starting to fall into bad old habits, turning the football over and destroying promising drives down the field. And last week they weren't really able to stop Oak Hill's run. Dirigo seems to have righted the ship after losing in Week 1 to Freeport. They got some more. They had another huge game from Brian Blackman, who's emerging as one of the top running backs in Class C. And they got some balance there. Ben Holmes in the passing game to balance it off as well. I see Dirigo being able to roll in this one.
And the other game is a Saturday game, Oak Hill at Telstar. Randy, Oak Hill seems to be doing what it does pretty much every year, which is play that brutal schedule early on with Yarmouth and Lisbon, go 0-2, and then rebound and become one of the better teams in the conference. How will they fare up at Bethel?
Well, obviously a huge win for them last week, confidence-wise over Poland. They're getting confidence back in their quarterback, Parker Asselin. Cody Depew established himself last week as a big threat in the running game. Telstar, they played well last week. They put together a really solid half of football down to Freeport. outplayed Freeport really in that first half, and were throwing the ball all over the place pretty well, running the ball pretty well. But then in the second half, they started making mistakes, particularly on the defensive side of the football. They're obviously a growing program. Oak Hill's looking to get back into the playoff hunt. I think the Raiders should have an emotional edge going into that game.
We'll know a lot more about the Class C playoff race after this Friday night and Saturday afternoon. For Randy Whitehouse, I'm Kalle Oaks. This has been Class C Tailgate Talk. See you on the sidelines and see you next week.